Now we should use clean power, solar system, solar energy, and then wind power. We have a certain sort of technique, certain knowledge there. So we should not sort of rely on using coals or these things. So some, my friend, they say within next few decades, global warming reach such a level that most of these big rivers will dry. And like Tibet, almost, I think, source of water, whole Asia, almost whole Asia. Now, the Tibet, because climate condition change, some experts say, eventually Tibet will become something like Afghanistan, dry. So that also is a very serious matter. When all these water dry, then very difficult for survival. Without water, very difficult. So that's one serious matter. Now many people really showing interest about ecology in order to keep our planet more living. So that's one problem. So I'm regarding Tibet, I always now showing concern about preservation of Tibetan ecology. You see, Tibet once dry, then the river, which major river in India and China and Southeast Asia, so very important Tibetan ecology to keep this water. So that's something, a very serious matter. Particularly when I heard you said that scholar, now global warming, after a few decades, things become really serious. So that's, we really make effort. Okay, then next question.
Thank you, Tejas. We will now have a question from Lola.
Good morning, Your Holiness. My name is Lola Pasharis, and I'm from England. My question is, how do we practice compassion in this pandemic when we are supposed to stay away from everyone?
The concept of brotherhood, sisterhood, actually entire human being, truly our brothers, sisters. So mentally, you see, keep sense of concern of all our human brothers, sisters. That's actually, I think, now some scientists say the human being are a social animal. Any social animal, you see, loving kindness each other by birth, already there. So we, as a social animal, so now today, because of economy, worldwide, global economy, everything interdependent, interconnected. So now no longer say just my nation, just my community. Now, according to reality, we have to think about global economy, global human being, human brothers, sisters. So these, I think, the reality. In ancient time, we little bit isolated, so always say my nation, my nation. Now today's world, you see, worldwide, you see, interdependency, like that. So.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lola. We now have Asmi Agarwal.
Good morning, Your Holiness. I am from India. My question is, how can you keep being resilient with all the bad things going on in the world? How do you ward off all of that negativity?
As I mentioned earlier, you see, one problem, more or less, nature event. That, as I mentioned earlier, global warming, these things, we simply, you see, try to keep our determination to take care about our world ecology, these things. Then another sort of problem, essentially, our own creation, like war, conflict, these our own creation. So, as I already mentioned, you see, Indian 1,000-year-old tradition, ahimsa, karuna, promote these things. Then these violence automatically reduce. So, two kinds. One, more or less nature event. So we simply, you see, try our because of the courage or determination to face these problems. Then man-made problem, you see, we have to make effort to promote karuna and ahimsa. And ultimately, you see, a sense of oneness of one world, oneness of human being.
Thank you, Asmi, for your question. Your Holiness, I am going to ask the next question. My name is Misaki. Everyone keeps saying living mindfully is what one should do. Please explain what is mindfulness and how one can practice it in everyday life.
When we carry our sort of every action, I think mainly verbal action. You see, sometimes we just, you see, use some sort of, a negative word and hurt other people and unnecessarily create suspicion like that. So, for our verbal action, say, mindfulness, whether I use the proper word, which, you see, no causing some, distrust or fear. Or, so each our word, you see, one part of our mind, mindfulness, what I'm saying, what I'm using word. So, and then when we walk, mindfulness, like Karsa, Chibubu, Jain. You see, Jain practitioner, when they walk, you see, very mindful. You see, whether you see some small insect there or not, always you see very sort of mindfulness, such sort of practice. These are not just religious practice. You see, in order to carry your whole life something nice never sort of say, create a problem. Not only human being, but also animal, insects. So mindfulness, very important. And particularly, you see, when we talk, our word, and also you see mindfulness about our own facial sort of expression. So, your friend, you see, when you see show the face, something sarcastic face, or even a smile, you see sarcastic smile, like that. Then that, you see, creates uncomfortable. So, like that, physical action, verbal action, you see, mindfulness, any sort of my action, you see, really create some distrust or some uncomfortable or not. So mindfulness, and not only, you see, daytime, but mindfulness eventually in dream time. When you are dreaming, mindfulness comes. So mindfulness about our action, about our mind or thought, very useful, very useful. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Sol Hui Han will ask the next question.
Good morning, Your Holiness. I am Seoli from South Korea. If you could spread only one message about resilience and well-being, what would it be?
I usually, saying, concept of oneness of 7 billion human beings, then automatically you get some kind of feeling of human brothers. Entire human being are our brothers, sisters. So that concept and reality also is we have to live together. And then with sense of brotherhood, sisterhood, and keep sense of concern about the well-being of other. So through that way, we can develop happy human community, finally happy humanity. So that's something important. Then mindfulness for student, when we study, you see, our mind focusing on the subject. When you study, you see, or when you study, a teacher explaining, the student, although physical on the chair, but mind look this side, this side, this side. Then you see, without mindfulness, the subject not will remain, not remain in our mind. So mindfulness for education in class, very important. Then daily life, mindfulness, my attitude towards my student, brothers, sisters, student, what kind of my sort of attitude, what kind of my word, these things. So mindfulness, very important. Just, you see, watch your own mental action, physical action, verbal action. So many action you should do to your own also habit. So some negative thing due to some habit is usually possibly come. So mindfulness. Oh, I should not use this kind of word, this kind of physical action like that. Okay.
Thank you. Our final question is from Suhani.
Good morning, Your Holiness. My name is Sahani Ranier, and I am from England. My question is, do you ever think it's okay not to be resilient, to just give up? Or do you think it's important to always maintain resilience, even in the hardest times?
I think as long as way to overcome, we must make effort. Without that, eventually you get regret. Then, when you face certain problem beyond your control, then you see completely discouraged. Also, is not good. Now, my own case, 1959, when I escaped from Nurbulinga, you see, looks almost hopeless, but keep determination. Then eventually they overcome using these problems. So my own experience, now for example, 1959, March 17th night, I escaped with the feeling whether I can see next day or not, but determined and escape. Facing worst kind of sorrow, or say danger, determined, and then eventually overcome this problem. And then when we reach India as a refugee, there are a lot of problems, but we keep our determination and believe truth. And particularly in this country, historically, we have very close link. So therefore, now, over 61
years.
Ka.
Over 61 years.
100,000.
Ka.
100,000 Tibetans.
Karsa.
100,000 Tibetans.
Yes, 100,000 Tibetan. You see, of course, we historically very close link, and mentally, it's very close. On that, we kept our determination. Eventually, we developed our own community, carrying all work for preservation of Tibetan culture, ancient Tibetan knowledge, which come from Nalanda. All these, you see, we kept. So with determination, now after several decades now, you see, we quite well established now here in India. All these knowledge, over 1,000 students, mainly monk students and non-students, they really kept all these 1,000-year-old knowledge or Nalanda from India. And then including an early 59, we asked Indian government, since we Tibetan have our own language, our own script, so we need separate Tibetan school. The government of India, say, fully support. So now we kept our language, and in that language, those, you see, sophisticated philosophy or these sort of knowledge we kept. Now here, mainly in South India, it's a famous Tibetan monastic institution now re-established here in India. We carry continuously. All these are knowledge which need at least 20, 30 years study. I myself also, you see, one of the students study. Firstly, you see the root text, learn by heart, memorize, and then commentary, and different commentary. And commentary, sometimes you see, critical view each other and debate, very useful, such commentary. So we kept all these almost, I think, unique knowledge. Anciently, come from India, 8th century, the Rakshita brought from Nalanda tradition. We kept these things. I think you may not know the 7th century Tibetan king married with Chinese princess. But he, you see, prefer we should have our own script, our own language. I think he found too complicated the Chinese letter. So 7th century, King Songtse Gampo decided we should create our own script, copy from Devanagari and alphabet. So then 8th century, since we have our own language, our own script, and then Rakshita, you see, advice, since you have your own language, your own script, so instead of study Sanskrit or Pali, you should translate all these texts in Tibetan own language. So altogether, 300 volumes, Buddha's own word, about 100 volumes. Then commentary, the Nalanda master, mainly Nalanda master, about 200. So all these in Tibetan language. So we have our own language, and all those ancient Indian sort of knowledge also they mentioned in these texts. So, as I mentioned earlier, I asked Government of India, so they fully not only agree but support financially our school like that. So we, as the refugee community, we kept all these ancient knowledge very much alive, like that. So firstly, I must say gratitude to Government of India and the leaders, Pandit Nehru, Indira Gandhi ji, and Lal Bahadur Shastri, and so on. All are very sympathetic, and till present Indian government officials, very, very supportive, very sympathetic. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Thank you. I've got a few more questions that I'd like to ask you from some students that aren't here. So the first one is, have you ever felt angry? And if so, how did you overcome that? And that's from a student, a 13-year-old student called Samira Khanna.
Karsa. More serious anger, you see, I think reasons. For example, the Chinese hardliner, you see, sometimes you see killing Tibetan, many Tibetan, thousands Tibetan killed, and also try to brainwash. But you see, not much sort of anger. sometimes you feel also the pitches way. Ningje samurchi. Ka. It's in their own sort of short-sighted ignorance. So, you see, instead of anger, feel sympathy, like that. And then one Shanda Rakshita, great scholar, he mentioned, enemy is best teacher. From enemy, you can develop patience. So enemy is teacher of patience. It mentioned, it's very true. Shantideva, yes. Shantideva, you mentioned that. So then, small things, when I get very sound sleep, then mosquito come. And then sometimes I feel a little bit sort of the drastic way, dramatic action, like that. And then sometimes you see the mosquito come, then wait. When mosquito you see touch down, like that. That's very occasion. Nowadays, of course, my house also you see kasa net kasa.
Mosquito net.
So no problem. So, and basically, as a sort of Buddhist practitioner, every sentient being is a mother sentient being. We must sort of respect their life like that. So these are very helpful to keep peace of mind. Thank you. Next.
Your Holiness, we would like to thank you for gracing us with your presence this morning. And I will now hand over to Mr. Mark Tate, our secondary school principal, to say a few words.
Good morning, Your Holiness. So can I say, Your Holiness, on behalf of the British School, the director, governors, students, and the whole school community, we thank you for your presence today, for this morning. The thread of many questions that we've been hearing from students has all been about looking at our current situation and beyond. It's been wonderful to listen to you because you have shown your depth and breadth of knowledge is a large lake that all young people can drink from and learn from. You have shown the importance of using historical perspective to contextualize current events, which are very profound for many of us, to consider positive ways forward and end to become the future that we wish it to be. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
We finished at that point now, I believe, everybody. Ms. Sota, can I hand back to you because I believe this now comes to an end.
Okay. Education, not only material thing, but also education about our own emotion. Then how to tackle our emotion. The quantum physics also very useful now. The things appears something objectively, but if you investigate, nothing exists as appears. That's quantum physicists, they say. So if we investigate things just as a small particle, finally, your own mental level, you consider this is something good, this is something bad. But actually, mentally, you see, creation, that kind of thing. The objectively nothing So that the Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist psychology also, you see, clearly mentioned. You see, when we develop anger, attachment, mainly, you see, based on appearances. If we investigate, then, you see, there is no solid basis, so-called enemy and friend. So there's something grasping, something independent enemy, not there. Similarly, friend, not basis of attachment. So these quantum physics and similar, the Nalanda Buddhist master, also that way to analyze everything interdependent. One thing, different aspect, different side, we can see differently. So therefore, the negative emotions such as anger, attachment, just grasp one side, not holistic. So these are very useful. So one my Indian friend, Raja Ramana, I remember once, you see, he told me quantum physics in the West, something new. In this country, over 2,000 years already developed. This is that concept. It's very true. Yeah, particularly at that time, also, you see, he recite some verses of Nagarjuna. Things are interdependent and a different aspect. So negative emotion, just to pick one side, not holistic view, like that. So thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
See you again when this illness also gradually disappear. Then I'm very, very eager to go to Delhi and meet some of the professors or students like Jawaharlal Nehru University and some other university. I'm very, very eager, you see, to discuss. And some professors, educationists, say how to revive ancient Indian knowledge in modern India. So I'm very, very determined to discuss. Now, modern India, I think the modern education in this country introduced by Westerner. So you now should think more about, you see, ancient Indian own knowledge and then combine the modern education in ancient Indian education. That I feel very important. So, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Welcome. I'm Susan Bauer-Wu, president of the Mind and Life Institute, and I'm so pleased that you can join us for this auspicious virtual gathering. There are millions of you joining in from every continent right now. We're all together to listen to this remarkable conversation with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Greta Thunberg, and two renowned climate scientists, Sue Natali and Bill Muma. Our goal today is to raise awareness of climate feedback loops, heightening a sense of urgency, and to offer promising solutions. And we will address this through three essential perspectives: science, secular ethics, and social action. The event is also the official launch of a series of short films called Climate Emergency Feedback Loops. The films are narrated by Richard Gere, translated or subtitled in 20 languages, and are offered freely online. The films are powerful and convey critical insights that will inspire you to take action. And during this program, we will show 3 brief clips that will spark the conversation among His Holiness, Greta, and the scientists. So I'm delighted to introduce the moderator for this program, Diana Chapman Walsh. Diana is President Emerita of Wellesley College, a former board member of the Mind and Life Institute, and she is deeply
Yes.
Yeah. And Diana is deeply committed to mitigating climate change and is the co-founder of the Council on the Uncertain Human Future. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Diana Chapman Walsh.
Thank you, Susan, and Your Holiness. Thank you. Thank you for convening us, for being here with us. I'm so happy to be with you again. It's really a joy. I've missed you. It's been quite a while. And to be back with the Mind and Life Institute, which you co-founded 3 decades ago. You and I have been together in dialogues in many places, all over the United States and in India, in Mundgod, and also in your home in exile in Dharamsala, where you are now. So it's just such a pleasure to be with you again in this different medium, as you say, very different. We used to sit around your table. It was quite intimate, joined by so many people across the time zones, millions, Susan said, in light and in dark, gathering on this beautiful planet that is our only home. The title of your latest book, Your Holiness, Our Only Home, a climate appeal to the world. And Greta Thunberg, all of us are so grateful for your presence with us today. You're up in the middle of the night. We're so excited to be with you. And I want to wish you a happy birthday from last week, January 3rd. You and I haven't met, but I was at your global climate strike in September of 2019. I was in San Francisco. So maybe I can say I've marched with you and some 7 million others who took to the streets that day. We were called to action by young leaders you inspired. We had been watching you, your personal sacrifices, your knowledge and self-discipline, the force of your words, their precision. We were learning from you, and we were saying to ourselves, I can't just sit here and admire her. I have to stand with her. I have to march with her. Together, we can make a difference. Many of us have been saying those words for years, Greta. You made them true. Thank you. We have a singular purpose for our time together, all of us, that each of us will leave this conversation changed, and I include myself, changed by 2 words related to climate change. One we're hearing increasingly, the second less so. Emergency and possibility. Behind those 2 words are 2 other words.
Climate change ki tholta emergency the possibility se zenigi tone.
자자다 고급 니가 여버지. 랑 자자 탄연이 등에 버지 그것도 자자 여버지다 아니 고급 여버지. 고급 여버지.
Right.
Good. Behind those 2 words are 2 other words, feedback loops. And that's what we're here to learn about today. Scientists worry constantly about climate feedback loops, but the public, politicians, the media, and others in power are mostly unaware of them, and we need to wake them up. Greta has been trying to do just that. So we're here to learn about feedback loops, what they are and what they mean. First and foremost, they mean that we are in an emergency now, not later, now.